Okay, you guys sent us some pretty wild predictions for 2025.
Oh,
Straight from Wall Street strategist Tom Lee.
interesting.
Buckle up because this is a wild ride through markets, Bitcoin, and a government department led by Elon Musk.
Whoa, okay, sound like we're in for quite a deep dive then.
We are, yeah.
Okay.
So we are dissecting a YouTube video
Okay.
from the Global Money Talk channel called Tom Lee, The Biggest Risk Investors Are Ignoring.
All right.
And trust me, it lives up to its name.
Okay.
So our mission is to break down Lee's key predictions, uncover the most surprising ones, and see if we can connect the dots.
Sounds good.
Ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's unpack this.
Okay, Lee's first prediction is a doozy.
Uh-oh.
He sees the S&P 500 surging to 7,000 by mid-2025.
Wow.
But then he throws a curveball, a potential dip, before ending the year at 6,600.
Oh, wow.
It's like a roller coaster, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that Lee bases this on historical patterns.
Okay.
We've just seen 2 consecutive years of 20% gains in the S&P 500.
Uh-huh.
And historically, the market typically declines in the third year.
Right.
But here's the catch. There's only been one instance where the market didn't decline significantly in that third year. And instead, it saw a whopping 31% increase.
Wow, that's a pretty big exception to the rule.
Yeah.
So do you think that makes Lee's prediction more or less likely?
It's tough to say for sure.
Okay.
Lee acknowledges that the current economic landscape is unique, so it's not a guaranteed outcome, but it's definitely something to consider.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, Lee keeps mentioning this thing called the Trump put.
Okay.
What exactly does he mean by that? It sounds like a golf term or something.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
But in this context, Lee is referring to the idea that President Trump's pro-business policies,
Okay.
like tax cuts and deregulation,
Right.
are creating a safety net for the market.
Okay.
He argues that this perceived support from the administration encourages investors to stay invested in equities even when there's uncertainty. It's almost like a psychological boost.
Yeah, I'm not sure I buy it.
Okay.
Isn't it a little risky to assume that one person, even the president, can control the market like that?
Well, it's definitely a bold claim.
Yeah.
Lee ties this Trump put into another prediction,
Okay.
which is a massive cash exodus from bonds into equities.
Interesting.
He sees investors shifting their money from bonds into stocks
Okay.
because they're more optimistic about economic growth.
Makes sense.
This shift, he argues, is fueled by both the Fed's focus on keeping interest rates low and President Trump's policies.
Okay.
But you're right, it is a big assumption that these factors will continue to play out in such a predictable way.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah?
But it still sounds a little precarious to me,
Oh.
this whole Trump put thing.
Right.
Didn't Lee also mention some potential risks tied to President Trump?
He did.
Okay.
And we'll delve into those later.
Okay.
But first, let's talk about one of Lee's most eyebrow-raising predictions.
Okay, this better be good.
Hold on to your hats, because Lee predicts that the DOGE...
Wait.
Yes.
DOGE?
The cryptocurrency?
That's,
Not quite.
unexpected.
He's not talking about the meme-worthy cryptocurrency.
Okay.
He's talking about a government department
Okay.
called the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE.
All right.
And get this, he predicts it'll be co-headed by Elon Musk.
Okay, now you've got my attention.
Yeah.
Government efficiency and Elon Musk.
Uh-huh.
Tell me more.
Lee envisions DOGE as a modern-day Truman Committee.
Okay.
Remember during World War II,
Yeah.
Senator Harry Truman led a committee that exposed wasteful government spending.
Right.
They didn't have any executive power,
Uh-huh.
but they used public pressure and media attention to force change.
Okay.
Lee believes DOGE will do the same, but on a much larger scale.
Okay.
He estimates they could find a staggering $2 trillion in savings.
$2 trillion. That's enough to eliminate the U.S. deficit? Are you serious?
That's what Lee suggests.
Wow.
Now, whether or not that's feasible is a whole other conversation, but the potential impact is definitely enormous.
Right.
It would be fascinating to see how Musk's leadership style would translate to a government setting.
That's an understatement.
Yeah,
I can't even imagine what that would look like, but it would definitely shake things up.
to say the least.
Now we can't talk about Elon Musk without mentioning Bitcoin, right?
Right.
What does Lee see in store for the future of crypto?
Unsurprisingly, Lee is very bullish on Bitcoin.
Okay.
He forecasts it reaching $250,000 in 2025.
$250,000. Wow. What's driving that prediction? Is it just Musk's involvement with DOGE?
It's more than that.
Okay.
Lee points to the upcoming halving cycle,
Okay.
which is a programmed event that cuts the rate at which new Bitcoins are created in half.
Uh-huh.
This reduction in supply, combined with continued strong demand, could drive up the price significantly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Simple supply and demand?
Right.
Is that all, though?
There's more.
Okay.
He also believes the U.S. government will become more crypto-friendly.
Okay.
He even suggests that the U.S. might create a strategic Bitcoin reserve similar to its gold holdings.
Hold on, a strategic Bitcoin reserve.
Yeah.
That's a pretty radical idea.
It is.
Is he suggesting the U.S. government might start buying up Bitcoin like it's going out of style?
It's definitely a possibility.
Wow.
And if it were to happen, it would have a massive impact on the crypto market.
Okay.
It would lend a lot of legitimacy to Bitcoin as a store of value and potentially encourage more institutional investors to jump on board.
Wow, Bitcoin as gold 2.0.
Uh-huh.
I'm starting to see why Lee is so bullish,
Yep.
but let's be honest, this is all speculation, right?
Of course.
Okay.
Talk about predictions here, not guarantees.
Okay, good point.
Yeah.
Now, Lee uses this phrase animal spirits when he talks about the U.S. economy in 2025.
Okay.
Is he talking about a literal zoo breakout on Wall Street?
Haha. No, not quite.
Okay.
Animal spirits is a term economists use to describe a surge in business confidence and optimism,
Okay.
often leading to increased investment and economic growth.
Okay.
Lee believes President Trump's policies,
Right.
the ones that make up that Trump put,
Yeah.
will help unleash these animal spirits.
So is he basically saying we should expect a wave of irrational exuberance in the market?
It's certainly possible.
Okay.
But remember, animal spirits can also lead to innovation and risk-taking, which can be positive forces for the economy.
True, but it sounds like it could also lead to some pretty bad decisions if people get carried away.
Exactly. It's a double-edged sword.
Okay, now let's talk about granny shots.
Okay.
What on earth is Lee referring to with this basketball analogy?
Well, Lee uses granny shots to describe his unconventional stock picks.
Okay.
These are companies that may seem overlooked or even unfashionable,
Right.
but have the potential to outperform the market because they align with emerging trends he's identified.
So he's basically looking for the underdogs, the hidden gems that other investors might be missing.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's interesting to note that Lee's granny shot picks actually outperformed the market in 2023, which makes his approach even more intriguing.
So he's not just throwing darts at a board here.
Right.
There's a method to his madness.
Yeah.
Are you tempted to try any of these granny shots in your own portfolio?
I'm always open to exploring new investment ideas,
Okay.
but it's important to remember that we're not offering financial advice here.
Right, of course.
We're simply dissecting Lee's predictions and trying to understand his reasoning.
Right. This is just a deep dive into some fascinating ideas.
Yeah.
But it's definitely giving me a lot to think about, especially those granny shots.
And we haven't even gotten to his sector-specific predictions yet.
Oh.
There's still plenty more to unpack.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
Yeah.
But before we move on to those, you mentioned earlier that Lee also highlights some potential risks, particularly related to President Trump.
Okay.
Let's talk about those.
All right.
What exactly are the concerns?
Well, according to Lee's research, policy uncertainty,
Okay.
specifically surrounding President Trump's approach to tariffs and immigration,
Right.
is the top concern among investors, both institutional and individual.
So it's not necessarily the policies themselves that are the problem, but the unpredictability and potential volatility they create in the market.
Exactly. It's that element of surprise and the lack of clarity that can spook investors and lead to market instability.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even the most optimistic predictions come with caveats.
Absolutely. We need to be aware of those potential bumps in the road, even as we explore the exciting possibilities that lie ahead.
Well said. Now, you mentioned Lee has some specific sector picks for 2025.
Yes.
Which areas of the market are catching his eye?
His top picks are financials,
Okay.
small caps,
Okay.
and perhaps unsurprisingly Bitcoin.
Okay.
He sees them as poised for significant growth in 2025, based on a confluence of factors we've already touched upon.
Let's break those down one by one, starting with financials.
All right?
Why is he so bullish on this sector?
Lee believes that deregulation will create a more favorable environment for financial institutions,
Okay.
allowing them to be more profitable and potentially boosting their valuations. He also expects mergers and acquisitions to increase in this sector, which could further drive growth.
So he's betting on a more business-friendly regulatory landscape and increased consolidation in the financial industry.
That's right, and he sees this trend benefiting both large and small financial institutions.
Okay, interesting. Now, what about small caps?
Okay.
Why does Lee see this segment of the market as a winner in 2025?
He believes small caps are particularly well positioned to benefit from the combination of President Trump's pro-business policies, which we discussed earlier,
Right.
and the Fed's dovish stance on interest rates, meaning they're likely to keep interest rates low.
Okay.
This creates a favorable environment for small businesses to grow and expand.
So a double whammy of positive factors for small caps.
Exactly. And historically, small caps often outperform during periods of economic expansion,
Right.
which aligns with Lee's overall optimistic outlook for the U.S. economy.
I see. And of course, we can't forget about Bitcoin. We've already talked about his price prediction and the possibility of a U.S. Bitcoin reserve.
Right.
But I'm curious how he sees Bitcoin fitting into his sector picks more broadly.
Well, remember that financial revolution we talked about earlier with blockchain technology and decentralized finance?
Yeah.
Lee sees Bitcoin as a key driver of that revolution.
Okay.
He believes its decentralized nature and limited supply make it a compelling alternative to traditional currencies and assets, especially in a world where trust in institutions is declining.
Okay, so it's not just about the price potential, but also about Bitcoin's role in reshaping the financial landscape as a whole.
Precisely, Lee sees Bitcoin as a disruptive force that's here to stay.
Well, that's quite a range of predictions for 2025, but
Yeah.
you mentioned that Lee isn't the only one at his firm making predictions.
Right.
Are there any other areas of the market that his colleagues are excited about?
Yes, other analysts at Lee's firm are bullish on technology and industrials, anticipating continued growth and innovation in these sectors.
Okay.
It's interesting to note that even within the same firm, there can be different viewpoints and areas of focus,
Absolutely. It just goes to show that even the experts don't always agree.
right?
But that's what makes this whole discussion so fascinating,
Right,
Tom.
it certainly does.
Welcome back. We're continuing our deep dive into Tom Lee's bold predictions for 2025.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground already.
Yeah, from a potential stock market boom to Elon Musk taking on government waste.
Uh-huh. And we started to see how those predictions are all connected, painting a fascinating picture of what the future might hold.
Right.
Yeah, and now we're going to shift gears a bit and explore some of Lee's predictions about broader societal trends, particularly in healthcare.
Okay, this is where that RFK Jr. prediction comes in, right?
That's right. Lee predicts that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will be appointed as the head of Health and Human Services in 2025.
That's a controversial figure. To say the least, some people see him as a champion for public health, while others view him with a lot of skepticism.
It's definitely a polarizing prediction, and Lee acknowledges that he points out that RFK Jr. is known for his skepticism towards the pharmaceutical industry and his advocacy for alternative medicine.
So not exactly a friend of Big Pharma.
Precisely, Lee believed that RFK Jr.'s appointment could lead to increased scrutiny of drug pricing and a potential shift towards more holistic approaches to healthcare.
Interesting. So are we talking about a major shakeup in the pharmaceutical industry?
It's certainly a possibility, and here's where it gets even more intriguing. Remember that Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, that we talked about earlier.
Oh, yeah, the one headed by Elon Musk.
That's the one. Well, Lee predicts that DOGE will also target the healthcare industry, specifically aiming to uncover inefficiencies and potentially even corruption.
Whoa, so healthcare is going to be caught in a crossfire between RFK Jr.'s policies and DOGE investigations. That sounds like a recipe for chaos.
It could be, but it could also be an opportunity for positive change. Lee believes this dual pressure could create a much-needed push for transparency and accountability in the healthcare system, which could ultimately benefit patients.
Okay, I see what you mean. It's about using those forces for good, but it still sounds like healthcare investors might want to brace themselves for some turbulence in 2025.
That's definitely a takeaway from Lee's predictions, but remember, disruption can also create opportunities.
True. Where does Lee see those opportunities in healthcare?
He believes that companies focused on productivity and efficiency in healthcare will thrive in this new environment. He specifically highlights Palantir as a company that stands to benefit from this trend.
Palantir, they're a data analytics company, right?
Yes, they specialize in big data analysis and artificial intelligence. Lee believes Palantir's technology can be leveraged to identify inefficiencies and optimize operations within the healthcare system, ultimately leading to cost savings and better outcomes.
Okay, that makes sense. I can see how data analytics could play a crucial role in a more cost-conscious healthcare environment. It's like finding those hidden inefficiencies that no one else can see.
Exactly. It's about using data to drive better decision-making.
So healthcare is in for a wild ride. What other big societal trends is Lee predicting for 2025?
Well, he also delves into the future of the labor market, and he sees a global labor supply shortage on the horizon.
Really, what's driving that prediction? Are we talking about a robot takeover?
Not quite, though. Automation is definitely part of the story. Lee points to several factors, including aging populations in developed countries and declining birth rates globally. This means there will be fewer people entering the workforce, while the demand for skilled labor continues to grow.
So it's a simple case of supply and demand, but on a global scale, and which sectors are expected to be hit the hardest by this shortage.
Lee believes the shortage will be most acute in skilled trades and technical professions like healthcare, as we just discussed, and engineering.
So we're talking about a shortage of doctors, nurses, engineers, and other highly skilled workers that could have a major impact on the economy.
Absolutely. Lee believes this labor shortage will force businesses to compete more fiercely for talent, potentially driving up wages and benefits, and it could also accelerate the adoption of automation and artificial intelligence to fill the gaps.
Okay, so robots and AI stepping in to do the jobs that humans can't or won't do.
It's a trend we're already seeing, and Lee believes it will only intensify in the coming years. But he sees this trend as both a challenge and an opportunity.
How so?
It's a challenge because it could lead to job displacement and potentially even social unrest if people feel like their livelihoods are being threatened by machines.
Right, it's that fear of robots taking over.
Exactly. But Lee also sees it as an opportunity because automation can lead to increased productivity and efficiency, potentially boosting economic growth, and it could free up humans to focus on more creative and fulfilling work.
Okay, so it's not a simple black and white issue. There are both positive and negative implications to consider. What else does Lee have to say about the impact of technology in 2025?
Well, in addition to automation, he also highlights the growing importance of cybersecurity.
Makes sense. With all this technology, cybersecurity becomes even more crucial, right?
Absolutely. As our lives become increasingly digital, we become more vulnerable to cyber attacks. Lee predicts that the demand for cybersecurity professionals will skyrocket in the coming years as businesses and governments try to protect their data and systems.
So a good career path for anyone who's tech savvy and enjoys a good challenge, but it sounds like this goes beyond just protecting data. What are the broader implications of this increased focus on cybersecurity?
Lee sees cybersecurity as a national security issue. It's not just about protecting company secrets or personal information. It's about ensuring the stability and resilience of critical infrastructure like power grids, transportation systems, and financial networks. A major cyber attack could cripple entire countries.
Wow, so cybersecurity is moving to the forefront of global priorities.
It seems that way, and Lee believes that companies specializing in cybersecurity solutions are well-positioned for growth in 2025 and beyond as the demand for their services continues to surge.
Okay, so another potential investment opportunity to consider, but again, not financial advice, right?
Right, we're just exploring some intriguing predictions here, not giving investment recommendations.
Of course, this has been a fascinating look at some of the big societal and technological trends Lee predicts for 2025, but we're not done yet, right? It's still more to uncover.
There is, in the final part of our deep dive, we'll zoom out a bit and look at the broader themes that underpin Lee's predictions, and we'll explore some of the key risks and uncertainties that could derail even the most well-informed forecasts.
Okay, I'm definitely intrigued. Let's get to it. All right, welcome back for the final part of our deep dive into Tom Lee's predictions for 2025. We've explored some pretty fascinating territory so far.
We have, from a potential stock market surge to the rise of DOGE and the looming labor shortage, it's clear that Lee sees a future full of both challenges and opportunities.
Absolutely. And now we're going to zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture. What are the overarching themes that connect all of these predictions?
Well, one of the most prominent themes is the convergence of technology in traditional sectors. We've seen this in Lee's predictions about AI and healthcare, Elon Musk's potential role in streamlining government spending, and the rise of blockchain technology in finance. He sees this convergence as a major disruptive force that will continue to reshape industries in profound ways.
Okay, so technology isn't just changing the way we live, it's also fundamentally changing the way we work, govern, and even take care of our health.
Exactly. And it's creating a lot of uncertainty, but also a lot of exciting possibilities.
Let's talk about those possibilities. Lee seems particularly bullish on the financial sector. How does he see this convergence playing out in the world of finance?
Lee believes that the financial industry is on the cusp of a major transformation driven by innovations like blockchain technology, decentralized finance, and artificial intelligence. He sees these technologies making financial systems more efficient, transparent, and accessible, but this transformation will likely create winners and losers.
Right, so while some traditional financial institutions might struggle to adapt, others will thrive by embracing these new technologies.
Precisely. And Lee believes that companies that are quick to innovate and adapt will be the ones that succeed in this rapidly evolving landscape.
And how does Bitcoin fit into this picture? We already talked about Lee's price prediction and the potential for a U.S. Bitcoin reserve, but it sounds like he sees a bigger role for Bitcoin than just a store of value.
Lee views Bitcoin as a key player in this financial revolution. Its decentralized nature challenges the traditional control that governments and central banks have over money, and its potential to disrupt the global financial system is something that traditional institutions are watching very closely.
So Bitcoin is more than just a digital currency. It's a symbol of a shift in power and a challenge to the status quo.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, now besides all this talk about technological disruption, Lee also emphasizes the importance of understanding market cycles. He's not just chasing the next big thing, he's also looking at the bigger picture, right?
Absolutely. He reminds us that markets and economies tend to move in cycles. Even in the face of technological change and political uncertainty, understanding these cycles can help investors make more informed decisions and avoid getting caught up in short-term hype.
So it's not just about spotting trends, it's about understanding the historical context and the forces that drive those trends.
Exactly. And it's also about recognizing that markets are inherently unpredictable. No one can predict the future with 100% certainty, no matter how much data they have.
That's a good point. And speaking of uncertainty, Lee has also highlighted some potential risks that could throw a wrench in even the best laid plans. Let's talk about those. What are some of the things that could derail his optimistic outlook for 2025?
Well, we've already discussed the policy uncertainty surrounding President Trump, particularly his approach to tariffs and immigration. Those policies could create volatility in the markets and potentially disrupt global trade.
Right, and we've talked about the potential for social unrest if automation leads to widespread job displacement. That's a real concern that we can't ignore.
Absolutely. And there are always geopolitical risks to consider, things like escalating conflicts, political instability, or even natural disasters. These are wildcard factors that can have a ripple effect across the globe, impacting markets and economies in unpredictable ways.
Even though Lee is optimistic about 2025, he's also realistic about the potential for things to go wrong. It's a reminder that we need to be prepared for the unexpected and be able to adapt to changing circumstances.
Exactly. And that brings us to another key theme that emerges from Lee's predictions: the importance of adaptability and resilience.
That sounds like good life advice in general, but how does it apply to investors specifically?
Well, in a world that's changing as rapidly as ours, investors need to be agile and adaptable. They need to be able to adjust their strategies as new technologies emerge, as market conditions shift, and as unexpected challenges arise. Clinging to outdated ideas or being afraid to embrace new approaches can be costly.
So it's not just about picking the right stocks, it's about having the right mindset.
Exactly. It's about being open to new information, being willing to learn from mistakes, and having the flexibility to adjust course when needed.
It sounds like Lee is encouraging us to embrace the unknown and to view uncertainty not as a threat, but as an opportunity for growth and innovation.
That's a great way to summarize it. He's urging us to be both forward-thinking and open-minded, to see beyond the headlines and develop a deeper understanding of the forces shaping our world.
Well, this has been an incredible journey through Tom Lee's predictions for 2025. We've covered a lot of ground, from soaring markets to technological revolutions to the potential for both disruption and opportunity. But one thing that really stuck with me was his comparison of Bitcoin to gold. He suggested that if that parallel holds true, we might see other assets undergo radical transformations in the coming years. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a fascinating idea. It suggests that we might be on the verge of a massive reevaluation of value, not just in the financial markets, but across all aspects of society. What other assets might be ripe for disruption or reinvention? What traditional ways of doing things might become obsolete? These are questions worth pondering as we move towards 2025 and beyond.
Those are great questions to leave our listeners with. This deep dive has given us a lot to think about. It's in a wild ride through Tom Lee's vision of the future, and I, for one, am excited to see how it all unfolds.
Me too. And who knows, maybe some of these predictions will even come true.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. But in the meantime, we want to hear from you. What stood out to you most from this deep dive? What are you most excited about? What are you most concerned about? Let us know. We love hearing your takeaways.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.